but it's not your point. You are now in this point. And that's how from Varna comes Ashrama. Ashrama brings you even more to the point. You have to deal with this. This is all centered around material desires. With the level of material desires we are tormented by, we have to place ourselves in this particular regulated situation so we can handle these desires. It's called protective. That we are actually, able to conduct spiritual life. If you are sailing into the ocean with a boat which is too small or full of holes, how far do you get? There were some people who say, well, Krishna consciousness doesn't work. Well, because you took it in the wrong way. And therefore, immediately Prabhupada immediately mentions it, spiritual authority. That must be there. There must be some control here. Somebody who tells us what we don't know. Or what we know, but cannot apply. The confusion to an older devotee comes, how do you apply all this? Not how do you know it. Because you hear these things, you get to hear so many things. But how do we apply them? How do we put them into action? What do they mean in our life? How can I apply all this in my life? There, the spiritual authority is absolutely essential. Who tells you, yeah, that's okay, but not now. That's good for you. That's not good for them, and that's not good for you. That's good for them. Discrimination. Discrimination is a sign of intelligence, and because we don't have much discrimination, therefore we tend sometimes even unconsciously copy all kinds of Mayavadi, dogma, We repeat some Mayavadi nonsense we heard. We don't even know it's Mayavadi. Because there is no enough intelligence, it's not sharp enough. The more intelligence is manifested in discrimination. What's to be done, what's not to be done, what is good, what is bad, what should be, that's discrimination. And that is sharpened always by hearing. That's the process. You hear and practice, and hear and practice. So we were so blessed, the generation me and Nityananda Prabhu comes from. We heard, actually we were practicing before we even heard. We were already doing things, then you try to find out what I'm doing here. A little bit fast. But it's a little bit like learning swimming, you kick somebody in the water and then he goes, you learn swimming really fast. Or you drown. Some drown. So we don't do such a radical things today so much, really. And again, everything has a down part to it. Basically he was thrown in an active preaching field. Prabhupada made it very clear. He was very aware how unqualified we are. But he said, when the house is on fire, you don't even care what kind of language the fire brigade men are speaking. You don't even, like Prabhupada was sent to countries, you can imagine to arrive in the Middle East somewhere, You were not even a tourist, you were not even as a tourist before that, isn't it? Huh? Arriving there and everything is mad, in these places, it's just so crazy. They are all walking on the Kalashnikov, something wrong, they don't even know where they are shooting, these people. They're just shooting. They are born with a Kalashnikov, That's something you are eating and shooting. Yeah, that's what you do. It's madness to go to such a country even to preach. Even until today it's touchy. And you end up, I got the instruction to go here. Prabhupada did the same. He sent people, of course sometimes it was too dangerous. Prabhupada said, we are not going to go there anymore. Or he closed down the whole project. He said, there's a farm in Canada and he just closed it down. He said, it's just snow here half a year, nothing grows here. What's the use to have a farm? Common sense. It's just you have to use some brain also. You cannot just go and So Prabhupada applied also common sense. Nevertheless, he put us constantly in situations we were just desperate, praying. And that's of course very enhancing to the devotion. I remember first day on Sankirtan, I used to pray, if there is a God, help! That was my simple prayer. I knew there probably is some God. I was already dressed in dhoti and I was shaved. You know, I was not enchanted by the blue-covered boy. Nope. I was enchanted by the determination of these devotees. People who were saying something and they did it. With such a force. I asked always, is it allowed what we are doing? Because you know, my first contact with the police was in Krishna consciousness, not before. Before I joined this movement, I didn't know what is police, I didn't know what is divorce, I didn't know what drug means, you know, and I didn't know that people can drink themselves almost to death. I didn't know these things. I just dropped down from my parent home, dreaming artist. Yes. And then I came into a, you could say, paramilitary setup, you know. Yeah. You know, German version of Krishna consciousness, you know. Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Krishna was there, but first came the Hare. So it's like, and it was like a war machine, you know. And it was like, let's get them, let's finish them off. But there was also a great deal of bliss. And that was the really attractive part. And I never saw such ecstatic people before. And that ecstasy came from somewhere else. It was not just the Nazi ecstasy. Nazis were also ecstatic in their ways. Surely, they were ready to lay down their life for Mr. Hitler. But this was something else going on here. And that was really attractive. I was saying, what is this? What makes these people so happy? You know? And you end up, you know, being so happy while distributing Srila Prabhupada's books that you cannot sleep. I don't know if you can remember that. But I remember I remember that night we slept at Nikaranda Prabhu in my Sankirtan band. And he woke us up in the middle of the night. I woke up. You know, it was like we were sleeping like sardines, you know, just one sleeping bag next to each other. It's a small van, 4-man, that means you have to roll at night synchronized way. Otherwise it doesn't work really like that. So, you know, no heating in a car. You could heat up by your own body, that's all. And then, you know, and at night I woke up and there was somebody, you know, and you know, if you could give a little bit more. And I was thinking, I was sitting in a sleeping bag, but the problem is he was still sleeping. And we were like, hey, I want to sleep. And he was like, and then he came back. He didn't wake up, we woke up. You know, I don't know if you can remember that. You get so absorbed, you know, you cannot sleep. You cannot just, you know, like we were in it. It was like in an isolated cocoon. It was, anything could come from outside, you know. And, you know, I remember just parking once next to the military installation close to Frankfurt, sleeping once again in a car, waking up by the American military police who came on with a jeep with a mounted huge machine gun which was pointing exactly into the car, so the front shield. You know, because they thought we are some kind of terrorists. There was lots of terrorism those days going on. And you find 4 guys sleeping in a dark car next to the fence, you know, with a big sign, you know, trespassers will be shot or something like that. We didn't know, it was late at night. We didn't know where we are. And there was this gun, you know, such a caliber, you know, pointing into the car. And I woke up, you know, and there was this guys in military police, you know, the machine guns and, you know. And then, and still in that situation, I remember, we were trained on this to some degree, so we needed to pull out carefully our passports, showing with the hands, you know, no shooting, no guns. We just presented our passports, and they were basically cool. They were just, you know, checking this. And immediately the last brahmachari in a car, still sitting in a sleeping, was going, and you know, we have nice books here, you know. Just immediately started this, what books are this? I told him, they don't read even German, these guys. And he was like, you know. This was so drilled in. So that's called to be on the point. On the point. We were put on the point. And that gave us the protection. It's very dangerous when devotees walk around and define Krishna consciousness for themselves. This is nowadays rampant. Rampant, totally rampant. Everybody is just Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Oh, I felt and I saw hallelujah, and goes and does something. Well, you cannot make a Hare Krishna movement out of this. This is a movement of a randomly floating around, just, aspiring Madhyamadikaris. Because doing your own thing means Kanishta. Now you can say, Prabhupada came to the West, he did his own thing. I tell you a little secret, he didn't. First of all, he was under firm instruction from his spiritual master. Second of all, to the last minute he was seeking the cooperation of his godbrothers. When he came to America, after seeing all the destruction in the Gaudiya Math, by that time you have to understand that godbrothers were suing each other in court cases. At least we don't have this in ISKCON yet. Yet. Didn't arrive. Shivara Maharaj makes a court case against Dhanavi Maharaj. We don't have that. No, we don't. But that was the movement, shape of the movement Prabhupada came from. They were suing each other. So, and Prabhupada still in that shape was writing to his godbrothers, I open a branch for you here in New York, please come, or could you send me a Bhismamidanga, No answer. No nothing. So then Prabhupada said, I have to call it something. We are wanting a movement, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, we need an organized attempt to preach Krishna consciousness. So we have to call it something. So we call it the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. That was actually his first disciples that were commenting like, we should have it more general. God consciousness. I said, no, Krishna consciousness. Krishna is everything. That's really general. Because Krishna is everything. So let's call it honestly Krishna consciousness. Yes. And then if people go, why only Krishna? We can explain. Why only Krishna? Because Krishna is everything. He's the only thing anyway. So we call it Krishna consciousness. Besides that, you would call it God consciousness. What do you think who God is? And it starts. You ask people, who is God? There are millions of speculations coming in the air. So Prabhupada was very clear on this. No, Krishna consciousness. So it's not like Prabhupada went out there, hey, I will do my own thing. He tried to cooperate, but when nothing helps, then you have to do something to please your spiritual master. You have to do something. It was quite a heavy decision for him to start his own movement. But this was quite a heavy thing. But he did that because he had to give it a name. He had to present Krishna consciousness like that. But he considered himself, as described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, a branch on a tree. The same tree, but many branches. So we are not discriminative. Personally, like example, I would not dare to go out there in the different branches of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj movement and start to criticize like that. I don't know. I just know that Prabhupada said, don't go there. Don't associate and don't go there. The rest, there may be wonderful devotees there, there may be great Vaishnavas, anything. Sorry, there's nothing to do with me. Prabhupada said, don't go there. Don't associate. That's all. You say, but you should, they are all transcendental family. It's all one and the same. Really? Well, I'm not intellectual at all, but I can very quickly show you how it's not one and the same. Because I see already that in these other movements, members are admitted to indulge in issues which Prabhupada was not allowing us to do so. Prabhupada was very discriminative. He said, no, this is not for you. He didn't say it doesn't exist. He said, it's not for you. And he knew why he was doing that, because fools dash in where the angels don't dare. So we should not copy this. Nowadays devotees just, they read anything and they grab anything and wow and woo. What kind of flute is Krishna playing Tuesday morning? What is this to do with you? Like I said, we are not even on the level of 10 commands. Let's start with that. Didn't came even up to the level to be a decent Christian. Let's start with that. Not intoxicate ourselves with shlokas and hey. Yeah, we can hear about it. That's okay. That's one way you get information. Wow. That's what they do in the spiritual world. That doesn't mean you are there. So let's be realistic. Let's deal with the issues at hand. And when we understand 1 and 1 is 2, then we can go to and 2 is 4. And then we can go to the higher level of mathematics. Actually, Prabhupada said, you don't have to go there. It will come to you on its own. You don't squeeze yourself in the spiritual world. Some people conduct spiritual progress like, just hanging on that stick and they go, and then they go, I see the spiritual world. And then they fall down. This is artificial. You cannot see the spiritual world. There is such a thing like illusory form of the spiritual world, yes. The Maya comes. He is the blue Krishna. And he is the blue Radharani. And he is the nice Radharani. And actually, you know what? You are part of it. And then you go, I remember when I was a Bhakta in Schloss-Rettershof, there was one devotee, I don't remember the name. He always told me how he hears every morning Krishna's flute. Maybe it was just the squeaking of the door from the toilet, I don't know what it was. But he's not around anymore. And you hear Krishna's flute, that's it. Prabhupada even said they don't go to Vrindavan. If they would really go to Vrindavan, they would not come back. The reason to prove that they didn't go to Vrindavan is that they are coming back. In Germany they have this joke. The beer bar in Düsseldorf, Goloka down and back again. It's just like, look at the level of desires you are operating on, which will be clearly manifested. You cannot cheat the material energy. One cannot fool Maya. Maya will go, look, that's you. Except for there is no fall downs, it's only revelations. Listen, how could you fall down like this? This was there all the time. The seed of the desire was there and just sprouted. That's it. So that's the daily battle we have to embark on. To battle with our desires. That's what we have to be conscious about. And put ourselves in a proper situation, accepting the rope of the Vedas, gladly. Oh, very nice. Please, tie me up like this. Please, regulate me like that. People take it like slavery. No, it's bliss. Because to be actually, Prabhupada gives actually a positive example. He goes, it's like a child is regulated by the mother. But ultimately, being on the lap of the mother is the safest place to be. So the child, the children go around, like this. And, yesterday we had a game program with the Indian community and there's lots of children running around. And you can see these children, they are actually different like Western children mostly. They are far more better behaved and far more conscious. But still, they just go around, they are curious. But you just make some face, they go back to the mother immediately. And they just feel very safe. I'm not with the mother or with the father. So this is our position. There's one reporter yelled at Prabhupada, what is this preaching? Do you think I'm like a child? Prabhupada smiled and said, spiritually, yes. And completely confused her because she had no idea what spiritual means. But, Prabhupada said it so nice and so clearly. Prabhupada could say things that was unbelievable. Do you think I have no brain? Prabhupada said, yes. With such a smile, I was, okay. If you think so, okay. He could just take the fuse out so easily, it's just by purity. He said, yes, you're very stupid. Okay. This was amazing to watch this, how he could diffuse a situation like this. So we have to be more careful because we have more false ego invested into our preaching, so that the people they are freaking out more. So we should imitate, we should follow. And follow means to stay on the point. The principle is to stay on the point. Not doing something which is not appropriate to our position in terms of varna, ashrama, in the terms of daily practice of Krishna consciousness. We should just focus. The whole thing is to focus on one's duty. What is my thing to do today? And then comes so many other things, yes. That's nothing to do with you. That's the meaning of management. Management means that everybody has his place to work and doesn't, really invade the activities of the other so much. And there is unity like this. It's not like everybody has to do his own thing in a speculative way. No, we have to cooperatively do our duty we are assigned to. And this can also change. Prabhupada changed managerial policies. He didn't change the philosophy, that's for sure. But the way how you should work, Prabhupada gave an instruction according to the time, place, circumstances. Yes, and that can change sometimes. In other words, do the needful. That's the highest level. Not do what you want. Do the needful. What is the need? Therefore Prabhupada said, I asked my spiritual master only one question. How can I serve you? Prabhupada didn't came and say, well, I do this, and I feel like that, it's good stuff, yeah. Well, that's how it, and I'm a guitar player. How can I play guitar for Krishna? Well, you can chant Hare Krishna with the guitar. Oh yeah, I'm a leader of the heavy metal band, I play heavy metal jhana, it's still heavy metal. The question is how much of Jharana stays. Yes, Prabhupada did, of course he did such a compromises. Before the man walks out of the door, you tell him, okay, you can play Jharana, heavy metal style. Great. Sounds terrible, but still there's some Krishna in it, okay. And you'll be very proud. And maybe he gets purified, he realizes himself, let's chant Hare Krishna. Maybe the chanting will take over, or maybe not. That's called Kama Mishra Bhakti. It's mixed with material desires. Let's see what will prevail. It's a percentage. Let's see. That's an individual choice. We all have that choice. To be a lot of kami and a little devotion, or lots of devotee and a little kami, or just being a pure devotee, which is something really high to aspire for. It's individual. Let's see. But in all stages, one is considered transcendental to the degree one follows the instruction of the spiritual master. That principle is still there. Any authority. I could apply it very easily to a marriage situation because you can see how it works in practice. Like a woman thinking, I have a husband, Prabhupada said, power. You can see it even in the Muslim women walking around here in the street. They walk on the street like looking at the Danish women. Because each thing one of them knows, there's a protection. As soon as something happens, bang! I mean, you touch one Muslim woman here, you have 20 Muslims coming out of the door. They know that. And even they are maybe not always treated to their liking. Probably not. Still, there's a shelter. So the emotional comfort is sacrificed for a higher principle. It's material, okay? But already there is power. But to speak of spiritual platform, and you feel sheltered by the Veda, you feel sheltered by the instruction of the spiritual master, that's where the power comes from. And this is what impressed me when I joined this movement. These devotees were like, Prabhupada said, hey, John! Even they didn't know sometimes what he said, but the attitude was right. Prabhupada said! It's like, it was the only point you discussed. What did Prabhupada say? Not, I don't want to even mention some of these issues you get to hear today. Well, where is this coming from? Who invented that? Who brought this issue? But people work unfortunately like that, especially Shuddhas. You throw in an issue, we have to discuss, it's very important. How many dogs are there in Copenhagen? No, very important. And immediately everybody jumps on you. Well, There is a small dog party, there is a big dog party. We have to discuss. There should be more dogs in Copenhagen or less dogs in Copenhagen. And then the media goes and makes it all public and we are all discussing. For what? Is this the issue? No, somebody invented the issue. So we shouldn't allow such a thing to ruin our spiritual life. By constantly going for things which are not relevant to our life, not relevant to our progress, we should stay at the point. What is really to do? Some comments on this?
A question about this. Sometimes my art philosophy comes in wonder, even out being recognized. Can you give some examples of that?
Oh yeah, easy. You can hear it all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, there's two sides.
Why is that in my art philosophy?
Yes, there's two sides. Yeah, that we are living in a world of duality. It's normal, yeah, there is. But two sides in Krishna consciousness means good and bad. Not that so two sides the same. It must be the same. So what you say, I say. He thinks, I think. Well, at the end, what do? You know what you end up doing? Nothing. Because you said something, I said something. Yeah, but on a mature platform, yeah, it's true. It's Maya. This Maya, that Maya. Prabhupada gave the ideal example of such a oneness. He said, we can discuss. What is better, the upper part of the cow dung or the lower part of the cow dung? It's all cow dung, right? That's applicable in the material world. Prabhupada used an example, I think even once with a connection with election. He said, you can elect now, discuss and elect. What is better? The dry part of the cow dung or the wet part, the bottom part of the cow dung? It's all stool, you know. So that's material sin. Just imagine Krishna will apply such a thing in a Bhagavad Gita. He will end up really nowhere. At the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will tell Arjuna, well, there's also another side to it, you know. There's another Bhagavad Gita which is spoken in favor of Duryodhana and, you know, and Dhritarashtra, and they have also their opinion. You have to accept that. You know, the ideal example is, you know, the chapati has two sides. I got to hear this very recently. I also know the chapati has two sides. So what? What is it? So what shall we do now, please? Well, we have to understand that chapati has two sides. You conduct a meeting on this premises. It's going to be a long meeting. And you know what will happen? That much will happen. So this is very often the state of things we are arriving at. Because there's always somebody coming, yeah, well, it could be different, you know. So that one don't see much happening, you're not getting done. Because people are so traumatized by fascistic management. You know, yeah, let's say somebody say, my way or highway, that's how it should be done. They are so traumatized by this. No, everybody should say something. We have to do it that everybody understands that there is this side of the chapati, then you turn it around, there is the other side of the chapati, and there is the other side, and we turn it up, you know, we end up turning it upside down, and what do you say? That's not Vedic culture. Vedic culture, first of all, is you talk and you are a member of a decision process to the degree you carry some responsibility. If you are not responsible, then shut up. Be responsible in your own field. But you cannot just come around and say, well, I said yeah, then thank you very much. You can give an idea and a suggestion, of course, yes. But decision, it never exists. In this democracy, it doesn't exist either. You can vote.